Well, welcome back, everyone. I would also like to welcome our final speaker. Today, we have Jeana Kinne, and hi, Jeana.
Hi.
She is not only an author, she's also an early childhood educator. And I'll let her talk about that part of it. But, welcome, Jeana. And I want to hear all about what you have. You have wonderful stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So would you like to take just a minute and tell us about your background and how you even got into writing and why you're interested in these emotions?
Yeah. So I have been working with kids for about 20 years in the early childhood field. So my experience is all kids birth through age 5. And I got my master's degree in early childhood and worked in preschools and was a preschool director. And now I work with infants and toddlers with special needs. And so I've seen it all as far as developmental stages and social needs and behaviors. And I know what parents are going through. As a teacher, I experienced it all. And now working with kids, with communication delays and such, we know that behaviors and social skills are the most important part of development. So I have been working a lot with speech therapists and occupational therapists and physical therapists. And that's how I came up with the idea to create Sammy the Golden Dog, teaching kids all these skills through play with visual cues and tactile cues, and also working on emotions as my main program. And that's where Soothing Sammy came from.
That is so cool. I love that you had so much background to be able to develop a product. And it's not just one thing, right? It's six
Right.
books.
Yeah, there's 6 books in the series. There's an emotion component, a friendship, safety, and then some on alphabet and counting. But it's all based on play-based activities and experiences for young children because they need a lot of that engagement to learn new skills.
And so out of curiosity, why wasn't it like Sammy the giraffe or Sammy the cat? Why Sammy the golden?
So I have a golden retriever. So that started it a little bit. And then I know a lot of the therapy, there's a lot of therapy dogs, there's a lot of behavior and emotional support dogs. And kids are familiar with dogs, and a lot of them are comfortable with them, or they see, their friends' dogs. It's just really familiar for a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old to understand what this is. And that makes it easy to implement. So instead of having a giraffe or a penguin or something, some of these kids have never seen before. Dogs are pretty universal, they're everywhere. So he's easy to relate to.
And you have a stuffed dog that comes with your set as part of it too, don't you?
I do. Yeah. Sammy is right here. He's the
Aww.
golden retriever. So he comes as part of the set. And it's not just a plush, it's an actual visual tool and something tactile the kids can use to remind them how to calm down. And I'm sure we'll talk about that later, but
Yeah.
he's very important.
When my kids were growing up, we had a golden, and I don't even know if they really remember the time, but they used to bury
Uh-huh.
themselves into the fur of the golden and
Oh,
lay
yes.
in there. It's,
Oh,
I think kids do have that sense of just calm and comfort
yes.
and that warmth that golden seem to, give just naturally.
Yes, yes, they do.
Yeah, and I thought a really interesting component of your whole set was that the kids actually designed their own dog house. So would
Right.
you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, yes. So Soothing Sammy, so we're talking about the Soothing Sammy program. And so part of that, the first step is this book, Soothing Sammy, that which I wrote. And it walks kids through when they're feeling upset or sad, they go visit Sammy at his doghouse. So they're feeling upset. They go knock on his door, and then Sammy greets them all cute and fun. And in his house, he has all of these things that help them calm down. So he's like a tool to use to show kids how to calm when they're feeling upset or overwhelmed. We hear a lot about sensory boxes, we hear a lot about sensory tools and calm down kits. And as adults, we know what they are, but children don't. So we need to teach them how to create these and how to use these in a way they actually understand. Because as adults, when we're talking to them, when they're in middle of tantruming or middle of losing it, they're not listening to anything that we're saying. So that's what Sammy does. He teaches them visually, very, very simple words and simple illustrations are done on purpose. So when the kids are overwhelmed, we don't want to escalate their behavior. We want that to be very direct. Like there's water to drink, there's a ball to squeeze, there's a song to listen to, or a picture to look at, right? So it rhymes within the story, but there's a picture of every skill level, nationality, and so the kids can identify with the kids in this book. And that's so important because we want to see the kids seeing themselves use these within the story. And then at the end, they feel so much better after using all of these things. And then they work with the parent on communicating and problem solving. This could be a parent or a teacher. There's a list of questions to ask, like what happened that made me sad? How can I fix it? What can I do if this happens again? And who can I ask for help? Because not only is the emotion scale about calming down, well, once we're calm, we need to know what to do next. So it's all about calming down, communicating, and then problem solving. Because if they don't follow that whole circle, next time they get mad, they're just going to be mad again, and they're not going to be able to think through their feelings. So that's what Sammy does. And then they feel all better at the end, and then they all go play and they have a great day. So the way to implement Sammy is to make your own Sammy house with the box he comes with. And that's exactly what Sammy, that's why Sammy the dog is so important, is you fill up his house and we call it Sammy time. So now the kids, if they're upset or overwhelmed, you just say, do you need some Sammy time? And they know exactly what that means because they know who Sammy is. They've read the story, and then they can go visit his little doghouse, which has everything in it. So it has, you could put a water bottle in there, or a cup to drink out of, or some bubbles to blow. Everything, some lotion to put on their hands so they can smell it and feel better. So everything that was talked about in the book, typical things you have around the house, you fill up your doghouse with, and there's explanation in the back of what to put in. And then you just say, do you need some Sammy time? And the kids know exactly to go visit Sammy, and they can cuddle him, love him, but Sammy always lives in his house. So he's not a toy that's like, let's go everywhere. Let's lose Sammy, let's bring him to the sandbox. We know that he is in his house and he's always there to support us when we're not feeling happy or we're not feeling content. And they can use this if they're sad, angry, upset, frustrated, whatnot.
And do you find that there's quite a bit of success with using Sammy and like you've heard?
Yes. So the reason why he's so successful is because he's using visual cues, tactile cues, and they're short and simple words and phrases. And that is what our little guys need. That's what they learn the best. There's a whole part of brain science behind it, but our prefrontal cortex is the part of our brain that's in charge of problem solving, and it's not fully developed till we turn 25. So our little guys are like losing it, right? And it's totally normal and developmentally appropriate. So we as adults need to help guide them in a way that they actually understand, so we can get to the calm down and problem solving part. And so that's why Sammy works really well. I have parents that work with him that say, all I have to say is Sammy time. Sometimes they need a little extra nudge, but once they are with him, they know exactly what to do. And sometimes they create solutions all by themselves once they're calm. So that's that first stage.
So then once they learn how to, let's say, perform Sammy time,
Right.
And let's say they're not home, do you see that it translates outside of, having Sammy close by?
It does. It does. We have some visuals that are also included, which I think I have here. And they're cards. So it
Ah,
has the picture of the book and the dog, and this is just a visual reminder. You could take this wherever you want to go. We can have it at home. Just if the kids are really upset, you can just show them the card if they're not listening to a word you're saying. Or if you're in the car, some people make a Sammy house for the car and put the picture in it. So if they're having a hard time in the store and maybe you need to take a break, go to the car and calm down. It turns calming down into a positive experience. It's like, okay, I'm feeling these emotions. Sammy's going to help me calm down. It's okay, but I need to come up with a solution because this isn't going to work right now. And so they can use this wherever they are. And it helps kids, as they're little and then as they grow, because that's the main skill they need to know before they get to kindergarten. So our goal is, we have all these skills that are all kindergarten readiness skills that Sammy teaches, and it's all about communication. It's all about sharing space and toys. It's all about these really high stress situations for little kids. But they can learn this in a really age appropriate way that they love. And
do
that's
you
the goal.
do you
Yeah.
have teachers who use it in their classroom?
Yes, actually, we have a lot of preschools that are using him. A lot of occupational therapists are using him in like kindergarten, first grade, um, preschool in um, the school districts.
Mhm.
Some of those school districts where they're self-funded, they're using them, and we have some in Head Start and all those sorts of things. So it's really nice to have in the classroom because this obviously where there's a lot of high tension situations happen in the classroom for preschoolers where they're sharing all this space and toys with each other. Um,
It might
but
be
teachers
like,
can put them on the shelf and just say, "Do you need some Sammy time?" And they say, "Yep." And then they can go access Sammy wherever he is.
I'm envisioning like 4 different Sammy dog houses throughout the
Right, exactly. And that's sometimes, parents or teachers will order a Sammy set and then add another dog. So if they have 2 kids, to have 2 dogs helps because each child will have their own house, their own dog. It's not as stressful when sister sees little brother, use her Sammy dog and whatnot. So it's good. It's respectful because we know that a lot of the stuff in the house is personal because they're using their own cup, their own ball, and we just really want them to feel safe when they're there.
And did you say they can't, well, they shouldn't be using the toys outside of needing that calming time. So it's
Right.
okay.
Right. So some kids will sleep with Sammy. It's just he's really soft and cuddly. And the nice part is the people that make him is he's machine washable and he's safe for kids like 2 and up. And so he can be used for that. But the idea is to have Sammy close to his house. So he's there when he's needed
Mhm.
and he's not just
A
an
toy.
extra plush. We don't want him to be an extra toy that just lands in the stuffed animal bucket
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he has a purpose.
And that
Yeah,
makes a lot more sense because then he, like you said, he has a purpose, he has a job that he has to do. And
exactly.
unless his job needs to be done, yeah.
Right. Exactly. And there's ways, there's activities that come with the set that they do practice pretend play with Sammy about calming down. And there are Sammy masks they can make to do pretend play with. And so there's all these other activities to do that support Sammy and they can see Sammy and color Sammy and what, but they don't actually have to have the dog with them.
Okay.
Since we want to make sure he's there if he's
Yeah.
needed. Otherwise, that's a whole nother tantrum.
Yeah, we don't want to go
But
there. Can't do home without the dog being.
right, right.
So tell us a little bit about how we could get a hold of the information about it, and we'll include this some links as well,
Yeah.
and what age groups really maybe it's ideal for.
Right. So all of my stuff is on my website, jdeducational.com, or you can type in sammythegoldendog.com and it will take you there also. Um, Everything is geared, my expertise is infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. So anyone between the ages of like 2.5 to 6.5 or 7, those are the kids that have been using them successfully. If you have kids that have a communication delay or in speech or need a little bit of occupational therapy or whatnot, or have some kind of diagnosis, we have a lot of kids with Down syndrome, a lot of kids with autism using him that are older, that
Mhm.
may be developmentally a little bit younger, that needs some of those extra supports. But typically, developing kiddos are usually between the ages of 2.5 and 6.
Okay. Okay.
And
That's
then
fantastic. I love the idea too
yeah.
of being able to use him in an older age group. That's great.
Yes, yes, yes. It's a lot of visual cues. So as long as your kids still need some of those visual supports, they'll work really well.
Yeah. Well, Jeana, this is fabulous. I feel like you're just brilliant coming up with this idea.
Oh, lots of experience watching 2-year-olds try to learn how to manage their feelings. Took
Yeah.
me a
Yeah.
while, but I just thought, they need something that teaches this to them instead of their adult who's stressed during that situation, trying to teach them when it's high. And so this really brings in an object that's always calm and that always seems really happy, and it's positive. And the reason I called him Sammy was because 2-year-olds can say the S sounds. So
Mm.
they can say Sammy time. They can do all of that because S is an early developing sound. So it's pretty easy for them to say, I need Sammy, or, you know,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, so you should be well received by your little one.
Well, this is awesome. And I know this is probably just the beginning of our talking about this, because I think people will be very, very interested in not just Sammy, but all your books, and your portable things are fantastic. So
Oh,
thank you.
sure. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll include links, and we'll make sure that everyone gets the information. And thank you so much, Jeana. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.